Sherry Clark here, and this video is meant to help you answer the question, am I addicted to food? So welcome. Before I get started talking about are you addicted to food, I got to do a little disclaimer just to say, I'm not diagnosing anyone in this video. It's for informational purposes only to help you get a good idea if you think this is something that you're struggling with. So let's get into it. Is this even really a thing, or is this just something cooped up? It's an excuse for people who overeat. Well, to answer anything, I'm going to look at the research. So what does the research show us? The term food addiction was actually introduced into the scientific literature all the way back in 1956. But here's the problem. They have not been doing a lot of research on food addiction since 1956, so we don't have a lot to go on. We see a big spike in the number of published studies, the literature, books, coming out about the subject of food addiction. That doesn't start until 2008. So you may think 2008, that's a long time ago, but in the scientific world, it is not a long time ago. So we don't have a lot of research to go on, but we do have some. And from that, let's answer the question, what do we know? Well, first of all, we do know about food addiction that most of the scientific community says, yes, it is a thing. There is a portion of the scientific community that is still not convinced that it is a real thing. So in 2001, there was a groundbreaking study. Let me see if I can explain this to you. Wang, W-A-N-G, if you want to Google it, did a study with his colleagues, and he is someone who does a lot of research with brain scans, PET scans, and MRIs. So what they did was they took someone who says, I am not addicted to cocaine. And they took a PET scan of the brain when they were just normal, not on cocaine. Then they gave that person cocaine, and they took another PET scan, and they compared the two images. As you can imagine, you've probably heard about dopamine. Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, it is released when that person took the cocaine. And in the brain where there's a dopamine receptor and the dopamine chemical, when they attach, it lights up. So on these images, you could see parts of the brain that were bright and lit up. Okay, now let's compare that to someone who says, I am addicted to cocaine. We take a before picture of the brain, we take the after picture when they are on cocaine, and we see how much does their brain light up. And then we compare the two. This one lights up. This one is like the 4th of July fireworks. So you can see easily, this person that's addicted to cocaine, one reason they're addicted is because their reward when they ingest cocaine is so much bigger than this person's. Okay? Now, what does that mean? They took people who said, I am not addicted to sugar. And they took people who said, I am addicted to sugar. And again, that's subjective. And they took brain scans, they gave them milkshakes, and they said, let's see, do your brain and the reward systems light up similar to cocaine? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. If you had someone who said, I'm addicted to sugar, and you gave them a milkshake, their post-brain scan looked like the 4th of July fireworks. You gave someone a milkshake who said, I'm not addicted to sugar. And yes, they did have some lights in their brain that lit up, but nothing like the person who said that they were addicted. This was a groundbreaking study. And after that, I think, is when food addiction really got a lot more attention and dollars started being put into research. So let's take a look at mental health diagnosis. So let's say you thought, I think I might have a problem with food. I might even be addicted to it. And you go to a mental health counselor, maybe even one that specializes in addiction, and you tell them this. Well, guess what? They don't have good diagnostic criteria to give you a diagnosis of food addiction. In fact, there is no diagnosis of food addiction yet as far as attaching a diagnostic code to it that you would bill an insurance company with doesn't exist yet. I think it's coming, but it is not there yet. So if you go in and you say, you know, I think I have anxiety, then your mental health counselor, they have a book there that says to give an anxiety diagnosis, and here's the diagnostic code. These are the criteria that need to be met. They do not have that for food addiction. They do have it for substance abuse. So that is their best tool for them to use right now. So they may compare you to the substance abuse criteria to determine if they in fact think you have food addiction, and then that would determine your course of treatment. Let's move on to the next question. How do I know if I am addicted to food? I'm going to put a link down below in the description of the Yale Food Addiction Scale. It is a quiz, a test that you can take and that you can score to get a better idea if this is a real problem for you. So this is not a perfect diagnostic criteria, but it is the best that we currently have. And you will see one of the flaws is that it is subjective. So I obsess about food, or sometimes I cannot stop eating when, you know, I feel full. Well, that's sometimes, like, it's kind of subjective, but it is a good tool. You will be able to tell how you score on that if you need to keep pursuing the maybe I do have addiction, or if you're like, this is not what I have, I just have, you know, other issues with food. Now, I have come up with 6 criteria on my own that I'm going to ask you these 6 questions. If this sounds like you, then you may be addicted to food, okay? It's not 6 questions. Let me grab my sheet of paper here. All right, number 1. And for the purposes of this, I want to use ice cream because that is what I hear from my clients a lot. None of my clients say they're addicted to broccoli or carrots or pineapple. It is, that's something else the research shows us, is that the addiction is from processed foods. A lot of added sugar is what we're going towards. Processed foods, many times containing added sugar, seems to be the most addictive. Okay, so for our purposes, let's pick one of those foods. We're going to go with ice cream. I have obsessive thoughts about it. That would mean every day probably I'm thinking about it. I feel panicked if I think I may not get it. I will sneak to have it. So that is someone who did without their ice cream and went to bed, and now it's 11 o'clock and their husband's asleep, and they sneak down the stairs and eat in front of the freezer so that nobody sees that they're eating the ice cream. You have to go out of your way to get it when it is not available. This is the person who it's 10 o'clock at night and you go to the freezer to get the ice cream and you're out. Your daughter ate the last serving that you had planned to eat at 10 o'clock. So what do? Clearly, at 10 o'clock at night, you have to get in your car and go to the grocery store and get more ice cream. You have gone out of your way to get it when it's not available. Let's continue. Number 2, you've tried to quit it and you cannot. Have you ever tried? Or you have tried to quit, and when you did quit, you had withdrawal symptoms. So if I'm addicted to a substance and I just cold turkey take it away, I'm going to have some withdrawal symptoms. With food addiction, the most common are going to be fatigue, irritability, insomnia, and headaches. Have you experienced those? Number 3, there are obvious detrimental side effects to your health, but you continue anyway. So every night I'm eating ice cream. I go for my annual physical, and now my doctor says, look, Sherry, your obesity is what's making this pain in your right knee worse. If you could lose some weight, get some weight off that knee, then I think it would be better, and you may avoid surgery. Also, your blood work shows you're pre-diabetic and you're on the road to diabetes. So now I can see my ice cream consumption is contributing to detrimental health and side effects. And guess what? I don't care anyway. It does not affect me. Either I'm in denial about it and say it's not the ice cream, or I think I'm going to try tomorrow and then I never do. Okay, so detrimental side effects, but I continue to eat the ice cream anyway. The next one, negative consequences that maybe aren't physical, but they could be social, financial, or other things. And I'll give you an example here. Let's say my ice cream, I eat my ice cream every night. That's my habit, okay? Now my friends want to go on a long weekend camping trip. And I would love to go spend time with my friends, but wait a minute, there's no freezers in the woods. We have a refrigerator in the camper, but ice cream's not going to keep in there. So now I know if I choose to go on this camping trip, I'm going to be without my ice cream from Friday when we leave until Monday around dinner. No way. So I say no to the social trip because I cannot be away from my ice cream. Number 5, obsessive craving. So sometimes food addiction, people will say it's such a strong craving. That's kind of the obsessive thoughts. Obsessive cravings, and I always give into it. I'm never able to say, no, I'm not going to have it tonight. I'm just going to go to sleep. I always give in. That is a red flag. And the last one, number 6, I eat to the point of physical pain, and I still cannot stop. So I'm eating. Now I'm feeling gross and bloated and sick, and I still keep eating till the end of that carton. That is another red flag. I will say in the years that I have worked with clients, I have only seen 4 times that I would say this is addiction. And it may surprise you what the foods were. 2 men, both addicted to Mountain Dew. I'm talking 12 to 18 cans a day. And 2 women, both addicted to red Twizzlers. I think they make packs of 30 family packs. They would eat an entire pack a day. So it's kind of like the person who's constantly chain smoking a cigarette. These women were constantly eating, or every time you saw them, they got a red Twizzler in their mouth. Those are the only 4 times I would say true addiction. Most of the time when I work through it with my clients, they say, oh, well, gosh, I mean, I'm not going in the car at 10 o'clock at night to go get bread. I mean, I'm just saying when it comes on the table when I eat at a restaurant, I can't ever say, no. So you really think about this. And if you want to delve deeper and really get into more about food addiction, I'm going to put a lot of resources down below. One book I would recommend is Hunger Fix by Pam Peeke. Peeke. She's a doctor who is doing a ton of research in food addiction and has done that for a long time. I'll also put the link to the Yale Food Addiction Scale in case you want to take that, and a couple other websites that you can check out. So I hope that you have found this informative, and good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.